It's March 20th, and the strange side of history awaits. Today, we have a serial killer walking away from a house of horrors, a chemical attack that shocked the world, and a silent wanderer whose identity died with him. Let's begin. On March 20th, 1953, a quiet man named John Christie locked the door on his ground floor flat, walking away from 10 Rillington Place in London. To his neighbors, nothing seemed unusual. Christie was known as polite, soft-spoken man. No one suspected that behind the walls of that small Terrace house, something unspeakable had been hidden. 4 days later, the new tenant was allowed to use the kitchen. While examining the room, he noticed something strange. A section of wallpaper covering a narrow alcove. Curiously, he pulled it back, and behind it were the bodies of 3 women. Police soon flooded the house, and what they uncovered turned the address into one of Britain's most infamous crime scenes. Behind the wallpaper were the victims Kathleen Maloney, Rita Nelson, and Hectorina McLennan, murdered only weeks earlier. The investigators lifted the floorboards, and beneath they found another body, Christie's own wife, Ethel. But the horrors didn't stop there. In a small garden outside, detectives unearthed the remains of 2 more women who had vanished years before. And the case carries an even darker twist. Years earlier, Christie had testified against his upstairs neighbor, Timothy Evans, helping convict him for murder. Evans was executed, but as the bodies of Rillington Place were uncovered, a chilling possibility emerged. The real killer had been living downstairs, all along. This case changed how Britain viewed the death penalty. If the bodies had been found earlier, how differently this would have been for Timothy Evans. On March 20th, 1995, the morning rush hour in Tokyo began like any other. Commuters packed tightly into trains beneath the city, shoulder to shoulder, heading to work, school, and ordinary lives. Hidden among them were members of the doomsday cult, Shinrikyo. Each carried a package containing sarin, one of the most deadliest nerve agents ever created. At carefully timed moments, they punctured the bags and quietly stepped off the trains. At first, almost no one noticed. Passengers later described a sweet smell in the air. Someone thought it was a spilled chemical cleaner. Others assumed somebody nearby had gotten sick. Then the symptoms began. Eyes burned, visions blurred, and people collapsed onto the train floor. Within minutes, the crowded station along the Tokyo Metro became a scene of confusion and panic. Bodies lay across platforms, and strangers dragged unconscious passengers towards the exits, unsure what invisible force was attacking them. 13 people would die that morning. Thousands survived, many escaping the trains despite nerve damage and blindness. Even decades later, survivors still report lingering neurological symptoms. What began on an ordinary Monday commute had become one of the most chilling acts of domestic terrorism in modern Japan. On March 20th, 1889, somewhere along the lonely woodland route between the Connecticut River and Hudson, a strange figure was nearing the end of his journey he had repeated for decades. People across more than 40 towns knew him simply as Old Leatherman, because nobody knew his real name. For nearly 30 years, he walked the same 365-mile loop through Connecticut and New York, approaching the towns with eerie precision every 34 to 36 days. Residents would see him coming down the road, silently steady, dressed head to toe in a heavy suit made entirely of scraps of leather. His outfit weighed more than 60 pounds, and he rarely spoke. When people offered him food, he usually accepted with a grunt or a nod, then continued walking. He slept in caves, rock shelters, and barns during storms, always moving, always alone. Then in late March, the walking stopped. The Leatherman was found dead in a cave in Mount Pleasant, New York, and it's believed he died from oral cancer. People along the route said they could set their watches by his arrival, but it makes you wonder what kind of life leads you to repeat the same journey over and over for 30 years. Another day, another strange bite from history. Like, comment, and subscribe. Your next eerie dose is just a day away.